Welcome to the Fantasy Cycling Podcast, featuring your hosts, Grant Gardner and John Anderson. Chapeau, you're in the mix.
All right, welcome to the Fantasy Cycling Podcast. John speaking here, and I'm here with my friend Grant. Good afternoon, Grant.
Afternoon.
How are you today?
I'm doing good.
You look well? Rested?
Yep. Oh yeah. Ready to go. You look a little worse for wear.
Oh, wow. Thank you for your honesty. It's been a hectic week. It's all good. This feels like rest though. Just a chance to kind of kick back and talk with my mate about some cycling.
Yeah.
Catch up on what's gone down in fantasy over the week, and I guess we got quite a bit to talk about. But I mean, we can launch right into it. But
yeah, we've got a little bit of a lull right now. We only have had one race so far this week compared to that.
God, yeah,
that week of like 3 races every morning, and then we added a couple more over the weekend.
Yeah, like we had whiplash. Went from overload to
who's designing this season schedule?
Nobody. It's chaos.
Yeah,
and we love it. Hey, listen, before we begin, shout out as always to the other places that you can follow along. I feel like every time we talk, Grant, there's something new we're adding. So you can find us on both Instagram and X with the handle listen2 FCP. And of course, we're on both Apple and Spotify for podcast platforms, but we started loading up just our audio to the YouTubes.
Yeah.
So if you like taking in your content on the YouTubes, you can find us there. Yeah. I mean,
let us know if y'all like that format. Hit us up in the comments. It's obviously we don't have any video yet.
Yeah. Oh, is that are we teasing that? I don't know. I feel like we've both got faces for radio. I don't know if we need to.
And that's just another thing for me to edit. So we're probably going to keep it audio only for the time being.
You're already kept pretty busy editing out of all of my nonsense.
Unless someone wants to sponsor the podcast, then
come on. Yeah.
Come on.
We call it in the biz. We call it opening weekend.
Yeah, opening weekend. The beginning of the classic season, the double of Omloop et Nieuwsblad and Kerner Brussels Kerna. And then over in France, you had Fon Ardèche and Fon Drôme, which were maybe more exciting races than what we saw in Belgium.
Is that your take? Yeah. What was your take on the weekend overall? How did it compare for you to previous opening weekends?
I don't think we had that single rider that kind of took the race by the horns. And that's probably what led to us having a bunch sprint, maybe some poor tactics too from Visma or some of the other folks where.
Like a less than memorable addition just because it came down to the bunch sprint at Omloop.
I think it'll be memorable for Soren Wernschkald, but as far as race moments, nobody really remembers a bunch sprint, right?
Right.
That people remember attacks on the Koppelmuur or things like that, or 80K to go kind of attack deal. So we didn't really see any of that. I mean, Stefan Kung at the end looked impressive with that little time trial he did.
Yeah, but he gave it the old college try, didn't he?
Yep.
Has it always? My memory, as always, is terrible. I've watched several of these over the years, but I mean, has it been a bit of a change to the race that we're seeing it come down more often than not to a sprint? I mean, I had Jasper on my team. I mean, who's a brand name sprinter for that reason. I don't think did you take him?
No, I didn't think it was going to come down to a sprint, so I didn't.
Yeah.
But if I did, I would have taken some of those guys. Paul Manier, I think, has had 3 straight second places.
Yeah. Is it kind of a situation where if you don't see one of the aliens show up, that the sprinters, the modern sprinters like your Jaspers, can stay, with the group and the levels are so high right now? Is it if you don't have like a pog there to just completely blow the thing up.
Yeah.
And what do you say? There's no massive climbs on that course. I mean, there are climbs, of course, but they're like little pitchy things.
Yeah, I think it kind of neutralizes things. Also, we saw Jasper Philipsen win Milano-San Remo last year.
Yep.
Maybe because that's the nature of that race where it's not steep enough for Pogačar to differentiate himself. And so Philipsen was able to stay in the game and then win the sprint, and probably a strong indicator of his ability to repeat at Milano-San Remo this year. I know that race can be a bit of a wild card and isn't how it ends, but
yeah. So how'd you fare in Omloop? I did pretty terribly. Just in the middle pack fodder again.
So it's funny. I had already identified a couple folks that would be sprinters for Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne, and I should have just taken them for Omloop since it turned into a sprint.
I mean, there's not a lot of brand names in this top 9. You got Jasper in there. I mean, I know who Soren Warnsgold is and Paul Manier is, but Brent Van Meer, Sam Watson, Lucas Kubis.
So yeah, that's my guy.
Is that your dude?
Lucas Kubis.
Lucas Kubis. That rolls off the tongue.
We'll call him that.
Albanese, I know, and Vandenberg, I know. Oh, good for Vandenberg. I mean, Lucas Kubis and everyone in there except for Jasper is 600 credits or less.
Yeah.
And there is 5 200 credit riders in the top 9.
I would say my biggest takeaways there was, Wout van Aert didn't look great.
Yeah, man. Where were we?
So John had to step away to silence the youngins around here, which our audio quality has gotten better, but we can't get rid of.
It doesn't matter how expensive your audio equipment is. If you've got little kids running around, there's not much you can do about that.
Yeah. But I was making a note about Wout van Aert.
Oh,
didn't look great, which is a little concerning maybe. At one point he was working for Olav Koy, like Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne, but Arnaud Delis had a mechanical that hurt him at Omloop, but none of the UAE riders that I picked scored any points. So that was probably my biggest shocker there. And then at Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne, I had Merlier and Mayos didn't do as well as I thought they would. I did have Kubis for that, but yeah, some of the other folks did not perform. Milan finished in 6th, a little disappointing. So
yeah. I was really liking Merlier and Jordi Mayos for this race, and yeah, I only had one rider, Coy, out of the top 9. I felt kind of deflated, kind of coming out of open weekend.
Yeah, we're like, man, we're kind of bad at this. Another point there is that if you're not an alien, you're not POG, or you're not in VDP, then you're not peaking opening weekend.
Yeah.
You're peaking 2 weeks later, and maybe some of those guys that we thought would be really good, they're just not peaking yet. So
I think there's more to it with Wout than him just being in a build, though. So like he just doesn't look himself.
It's a legit slump.
Yeah, he's in a slump. All right. I did. Any more comments on opening weekend?
No, I think we need to turn to Laguelia, which we had Wednesday, which was, some might say, the most exciting day of racing we've had so far this year.
Yeah, especially for me. I smoked this one. Snagged 6 out of the top 9 I had on my team.
Woo.
So that was good for a top 150. I finished 131st. So yeah, that was exciting. Man, we were talking about this before. Ayuso looks good.
Yeah,
he's good. He's good at bikes.
He's pretty okay at bikes.
He's pretty okay. And I mean, these one day rides he's in, I mean, he wins them. I mean, if you look how he's performed so far this season, he's had a great start to the season.
Yeah, and that's pretty consistent track record over the last couple of years too of the way he's performed in Von Ardèche-Vendôme and then Laigueglia. And yeah, he looked really good. Talked a little bit of trash talk too. I mean, I think there was
talk to me about this.
Yeah, there was some comments he's made recently about how he doesn't want to just be the best rider besides Pog on the team. He wants to be the best rider on the team. And everybody's like, well, you're going to need to go somewhere else if you want to do that. But so, which you want a guy to have moxie. You don't want him to like limit his ambitions as a young rider. But
yeah,
he's not Pogačar.
No one is. But I mean, yeah, I don't have a problem.
And that's okay.
Talking. Yeah.
And that's okay. So as long as he's not in, I don't think he'll ever get really put in a big race again where he's supporting Pogačar. I don't know if they'll allow that to happen. I think he might have talked enough that he's going to get his own leadership, and maybe that comes at the Giro this year. So,
oh yeah, that'd be cool to see. I mean, he's certainly smoking these one-day rides. Be interesting to see how he fares, kind of tying together. Excuse me. Is he going to start? Is he starting Tirreno-Adriatico, or is he riding Paris-Nice? Which one of the two is he in?
He's doing Adriatico.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be really interesting to watch. I think one surprise in the top 9 riders was Matteo Vercher. Only 0.1% of users took him, a 200 credit rider, finishing in the top 9 for Total Energies.
And you had Carboni, who only had like 2.4% of users pick him.
Yeah, I did.
Just a genius.
I wish I could explain to you my thinking when I took him. I think I was looking at how he fared in this race before, and just trying to find some value at that 200 credit range. A lot of these others, it was exciting. A lot of these other riders I like. It was exciting to see Michael Storer kind of feature in a race. What nickname did they come up with, or we come up with him back in like 2 or 3 years ago? Storer the Destroyer? An Aussie, isn't he?
Yeah. I like that, Storer the Destroyer.
Yeah, fun to see him kind of re-emerging after a couple of years. He's on a good team. I think for him to get some results and also be used in clever ways on Tudor there with both Alaphilippe and Hershey, some hitters that they can play off of each other. I'm excited to see what he does for the remainder of the season, those 2 other riders.
Yeah, one more guy I'll call out there is Louis Barre.
I had him.
Frenchman for Intermarché Wanty. And fun fact, he has not finished outside the top 20 in any race or stage so far this season. So
interesting.
If you're in the top 20,
smash that star button on that guy.
Yeah. If you're inside the top 20, you score points on fantasy, even if it's just a few small points. But that just shows his level of consistency. And his best result was 6th at Classic VAR, and then he was 8th at Laigueglia. Keep an eye on him.
One to watch. All right, pivoting to looking ahead. We've got a lot of work to do.
We've got a big race on Saturday. Some call it the 6th monument. Maybe one of the more exciting race days of the year. I'd put it probably in my top 5.
The White Roads.
Yes. What are your thoughts on Strade Bianche?
I like it. I think it's pretty. I think it's a pretty race. I like the dust in the air from those white gravel roads that they hit.
And then you have the super steep ramps at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's just cool dynamic.
Yeah, really cool. I'm looking forward to watching it. Is that going to be on Max? We're going to get a Max?
Yes, that should be on Max.
Right. Well, I mean, who do you like? Pog's going to be there.
Yeah.
So just go ahead and get that out of the way.
Yeah. So Pogačar, currently 98.6% of users have him on their team.
Wild that someone...
I don't know what 1.4% of people are doing there. Because, okay, if you're in a stage race and you want to do the sprint strategy thing and try to win the first stage, that would be a reason not to pick Pogačar. There is no strategy like that in a classic. Like, he has to be on your team if you're going to win the race.
Yeah.
Barring anything disastrous,
Mm-hmm.
So you've got him at the top of your list.
I got him. Yeah.
Who comes after that?
Favorite of mine, Bilbao Baggins.
That's Pello Bilbao for those of us.
That's what we call him.
Yeah, for new listeners,
affectionately,
Bilbao Baggins.
Yeah. Listen, he scores points. He scores fantasy points every time he does his race. So why not take him? We've talked about how he's a pro's pro. Finished 10th in 2021, 5th in 2022, and 7th in 2023.
It's a good record.
800 credits. I like him. I've got Pidcock as well. He's won this race before. And is featured in the top 5 every time he's done it. He's also only 800 credits. It's no secret there. 84% of users have taken him. I think he's motivated. He's got to be motivated. I mean, The team that he's on, the races like this have got to be the team's focus for the year. He's their big signing. He's raised that team's profile. I mean, these are where he's got to make hay. Picked Mark Hershey for similar reasons. He's not someone that's done well on this race in previous times he's ridden. He's only ridden it twice before, but that's who Tudor is taking, and I think he's got similar duties and kind of a mindset as Pidcock does. And then I wanted to take Maxim Van Gils, but he just dropped from the start list on this a couple days ago, or at least...
Yeah, he's going straight to Tirreno-Adriatico.
Yeah, I initially had him on my first draft of a team, so I don't know if I've got this locked in for the moment, but I reused those points for Romain Gregoire. He has finished in the top 10 on this race before a couple years ago, so not a bad pick. I might change that. And then I just got a smattering of 200 credit riders that I just kind of quickly put out there. So I'm going to go through them quickly because, quite honestly, I haven't put a whole lot of thought into them. They're just names that I liked. Quinn Simmons, Luis Barr, Ben Tullett, and Nathaniel.
Tesfazion.
Shout out to Eritrea and the movie star, One Love. So that's who I got. When did I become such a big movie star fan? I guess this year.
I mean, when is someone not a movie star fan? We
are all movie star.
Yeah. The champions of the team's classification. So pretty similar lineup there, but I've of course got Pogačar at the top. Then I've got Romain Gregoire. For similar reasons, as you mentioned. I've got Lennart Van 't Veld. He was 11th last year and is a strong climber. Good opportunities here. You also got to factor in there is no Matthew van der Poel. And folks like that could be taking away from those top 10 spots. So good opportunity for somebody like Van 't Veld. I've got Kevin Vauquelin. We talk about him a lot. He has not finished in the top 10 of this race before, but he's just a really strong rider. So I like him for that. And then Tom Pidcock, former winner. Michal Kwiatkowski, former winner.
Ooh,
I
like that Kwiatkowski pick.
Yeah, only 400 credits too.
Value.
Ben Tulit for Visma. He's only 200 credits. He looked good at.
So we both have him.
Classica Jaén, and which is a similar race to this, kind of the Spanish Strade Bianche.
Was he third at Vendôme as well? Is that right?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And he was 9th at Classica Jaén.
Yeah. That's a good man. Yeah.
And then Christian Scaroni. I don't know how well this race will suit him.
He's had a hot start this season, hasn't he?
But he's basically automatic right now. So you'd be remiss to not pick him until he shows us a reason not to.
How much does he cost?
Like 200 or he's 400 credits.
And he's 4.
And then
I just can't fit him in. I just can't fit him on the roster, Grant.
My final rider and 200 credit rider is Attila Valter.
Yeah, okay.
He doesn't win a lot of races, but he has finished in the top 5 of Strade Bianche twice. So it's enough for me.
Yeah. Anyone that listeners should take a look at that we didn't mention, Grant, that people might want to consider for this? Anyone that you considered for the team but just weren't able to put on there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ben Healy is someone to consider. We didn't mention Matthias Vasek. We've mentioned him in every other race this season. I mean, he's going to be a factor. I'm just picking other guys based off previous performance in this race, but I think he'll be up there. I just couldn't find room for him on my roster. The other UAE guys will be interesting how they factor into UAE's strategy. But you've got Tim Wellens and Isaac Del Toro.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, yeah, it's going to be a really good race, and honestly hard to narrow down. But there's a lot of names you could throw out there that I wouldn't disagree with.
Okay, very good. Yeah, Wellens and Del Toro, if they're on another team, I'd be excited to take them. When is Paul going to enter into his he's already a bro. He's got you know what I mean? Like he comes over as like a bro on social media, but when's he gonna fall into that I'm gonna fake it, I'm gonna feign an attack here and then fall back so my guy Del Toro can counterattack and get a dub. He's not gifting wins to his teammates. Yeah, he's not doing it in a race like this. I mean, he might do it at a smaller race.
We've seen him do it at Tour of Slovenia right before the Tour de France, but
yeah, okay.
Where he played rock, paper, scissors with
Did he really?
Yeah, he was playing
like literally?
Yes, it wasn't a serious game of rock, paper, scissors, but it was with Rafael Micah. Yeah.
And they were both off the front, with a bunch of room to go.
Oh yeah, I mean there was minutes probably between them and the peloton, and Micah is, I believe he's Slovenian too, so it was kind of here's my gift to you before the Tour de France.
Okay. All right, but yeah, he's not going to do it in this one.
No,
an unofficial monument.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Let's talk about what do you want to talk about first? Paris-Nice or Tirreno?
We can go in calendar order, so we can look at Paris-Nice.
So Paris-Nice is starting, is it Monday?
No, Paris-Nice will start Sunday, and then Tirreno-Adriatico will start Monday.
Okay. And we got 8 stages for Paris-Nice. Looks like stage 1 is going to be a sprint stage. Stage 2, also a sprint stage. Then we have a time trial on stage 3, 28 kilometers long. Stage 4 is our mountain day. And then stage 5 medium mountain / lumpy day.
Mm-hmm.
And then stage 6, probably another sprint. Pretty long day. I think that's the longest one. It's 209 kilometers total. And we have another mountain day on stage 7 from Nice to Uran. And then the final stage 8, is a hilly day, medium mountain / hills around the area of Nice. So kind of fun to dust off the stage race mindset again.
Yep.
I think what was the one we spent more time talking about was UAE, where we had a big preview here. I would say this is more balanced in who you want on your team. I kind of leaned into the sprinter heavy strategy on UAE. I don't know if necessarily it paid off for me. But also have that time trial there that's relatively flat, not a whole lot of elevation there in that, and below 30 kilometers. So yeah, as I was putting together some picks for this, I kind of it's like my my threshold or my mindset. Like I was just smashing the plus button on like all these expensive riders.
And then you're like, wait.
Yeah.
The credit card just hit its limit.
Yeah, it was what it felt like.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm overspending. I was like, my judgment is off from how much, how easy it's been to kind of put together teams.
Inflation.
Yeah. There's some inflation out there right now. Some tariffs on these riders.
Yeah. So, quick caveat, Paris-Nice start list has not been finalized yet, but we are going to talk through
what we got.
A preliminary group of riders.
Yeah.
So who do you have?
Who do I have? Jonas.
Easy.
Taking Merlier, who's probably the biggest name sprinter out there.
Yep.
There are other names.
Yeah, we got Pedersen on there. He's not maybe as pure of a sprinter as Merlier, obviously, but
I think Merlier's looked good this year too.
He looks really good.
Santi Buitrago, just because, he and I are homies. Yeah, he hooked me up earlier on in the season with with a big finish in what race was that?
It's Valencia.
Yeah. My memory sucks. So I was like, he got on the phone with me. He's like, hey man, you can't not take me.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're right. I got you. So he's pretty expensive though, actually. 800.
Yeah.
Josh Tarling, because I think he's going to win the time trial. Has he gone up in cost? He's 400 now.
I think he's been 400 all this season, but yes, he was 200 most of last season.
He was 200 last year for sure. So that's who I've got. And I've got Andreas Leknesund. Not a lot of people on him. I may change this later. Felt right at the time. I believe he fit into that young rider competition. He's 25.
Yeah, he should be okay.
I think that's why I looked at him. I wanted someone that's going to feature in that competition, and he's kind of like a sprinty climbing guy. He's only done this race once before, and that was in 2022, and he did score 34 points. But he's kind of expensive at 600 credits. And then also hoping to kind of mop up some points in the sprint stages, I took another young rider, which is Tobias Lund Andresen. He's ridden this race before, DNF'd, unfortunately. 20% of users are taking him, so I felt like that gave me a little bit of confidence to take him. I'm not the only one looking at him, and I think you could get some top fives, maybe even a win in one of the sprint stages. I'm taking your dude that you put me on to, Luri Latau. So I got him. He's also 26 years old, so I think he's just making the cut. Ivan Romeo, and then Wawar Barguil.
Yeah.
French rider. He's only 200 credits. Dude, this guy can climb now. You know, he's been around for a minute. He's 33 years old now, but I remember seeing him. Was it a Tour de France one year where he got
polka dots? Yeah,
he got the polka dot jersey. He's on a new team. I'm not sure how long he's been on Team Picnic Postal, but I think that gives him a lot of freedom. And you know, obviously he's a Frenchman, so why not take a roll on him for 200 credits to kind of have a good day or two in the mountains.
C'est la vie, you know.
C'est la vie.
So I don't love picking a team before the start list is, you know, higher than 20% of teams finalized or whatever. But so I have not picked a team yet, but
who do you like?
You
want to just shout out some names? Well, how about this? What do you think about my team?
I think it's a pretty well-rounded team. I mean, you were doubting yourself on Buitrago, but I mean, I think he's going to be up there. I think he's in great form.
Okay.
I think Tarling is a must pick just from the fact that there is a time trial in the race and based off his form. It'll be tough to kind of make a decision between Jorgensen, Skelmosa, Vingegaard. Because we talked about how Vingegaard will probably win GC, but is he going to score the most fantasy points? So that would be my only reason not to take him and maybe go for someone cheaper that could potentially score more fantasy points. You know, you've also got McNulty on the start list, who's a good time trialist. So it'll be tough. This is one of the few races we've had so far this year where there are several 1,000 credit riders. But yeah, I think Tarling is one of those must pick guys that's on the start list.
Okay.
Tirreno.
And so both of these races, Grant, these are both kind of viewed as like Grand Tour tune-up places to go, right? Historically, isn't Paris-Nice kind of like where you go to get ready? It's less so the case nowadays, though, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, folks go to these super long altitude training camps and don't do a whole lot of racing. I think these are more just early season stage races that might prepare you for, you know, if you're going to do the Ardennes Classics or these are potentially guys that could be doing the Giro later, but yeah, I wouldn't necessarily consider it Grand Tour prep.
Okay.
More just early season prep, and they're still big trophies to win too.
Yeah.
So. But Tirreno's interesting because it does have kind of a classics feel to it, even though it's a stage race and usually the weather's a little poor, just being, you know, early spring in Italy. But that one's going to kick off with a time trial, pretty short time trial, flat one.
Okay.
And then we've got a sprint stage, a few hilly stages, one mountain stage, and that one is going to be that's going to finish on a or category climb. And then we're going to finish it out with another sprint stage, pancake flat finish on that one. So this is that race. Remember a couple years ago, Mathieu van der Poel attacked because he was cold. You remember that? And we've seen Wout van Aert do well at this race before. So it'd be this one's going to be hard to pick.
But neither of those two guys are on the start list for this year, are they?
Van der Poel is.
Is he?
I'm just going to chalk that up to the fact that when you looked at it, it wasn't finalized.
Yeah.
But
I don't think he was on there when I looked at this.
No, the guy for Visma is Olaf Koy in this one. And then we're going to see Simon Yates working with Udebrooks for GC stuff. So since you went first last time, I'll kick it off.
Okay.
And the guy we've talked about a lot already, Juan Ayuso, is going to headline the top of my list at 1,000 credits. He's just in great form. And, you know, you've got some of these other guys that are solid GC riders, but we don't know if they're in great form. We don't know how motivated they are right now. and he's pretty clear he's going to gobble up as many UCI points as he can, and hopefully fantasy points for us. Right behind him, I've got Jonathan Milan, who is one of the best sprinters in the world right now. He scored 269 fantasy points in this race last year.
Yeesh.
So that's a pretty easy pick. I like Taberi. He's pretty expensive at 800 credits, but he does a decent time trial. And we know he's
Had a great year last year.
Yep, great GC rider.
I want to see him kind of continue on from that, build on that from last year.
And then I've also got Vacalon and Gregoire, who I'm also taking at Strade Bianche. How they perform at Strade Bianche might inform if I keep them. And then I've got Valentin Perret-Pantra at 400 credits. He has been on fire this season. Doesn't have much of a record in this race, but doesn't have much record in a lot of races. So that's not a disclaimer for him, or disqualifier, I mean. And then Paul Manier, at 200 credits, why not? He's going to be up there in those sprints, and hopefully he gets his first stage win. That'll be fun. And then Pigonzoli, young Italian GC rider. I'm going to be looking for him towards the end of this race. And then I haven't decided what to do with my last 200 credit rider. Right now is a little bit of a placeholder. I've got Gal Glavar, young Slovenian for Alpecin de Koenig, who used to be on the UAE development team. And that's just kind of a fun, is this the next Pogačar?
Yeah.
So don't really know.
There is a junior kid out there that people are saying who's the guy that's getting all the hype? Is he a French? Is he French?
Yeah, there's Paul Sixus.
That's it.
Who could be the next Pog, and then you've got.
We talked about him a couple episodes ago.
He's probably not as good, but Jarno Widar for Lotto.
Okay,
is really good too. So there's a lot of them out there.
That's the next frontier for us, Grant. We need to start really locking in on these junior races.
Yeah. Just gotta start.
We need to start farming who our next 200 credit picks are.
Yeah.
In the years ahead, just be the first ones on them.
Be taking names.
I have a lot of overlap with who you've got. I've got Milan. I've got Ayuso. I've got Taberi. I also have Paul Manier and Pigonzoli. So a ton of overlap. So really the only difference is I've got Bilbao Baggins again. Man, I'm starting to sound like a broken record. I always take him.
Yeah.
I took him on this race because of all the other reasons I've already stated. Every time I take him on other teams, he just
ain't broke.
I feel like he's a very, very dependable fantasy pick.
Yep.
And then I kind of have also placeholders for my 200 credit riders out there. Andreas Holland Johansson, and then Rick Plumiers. And I have Maxing Van Gils because he was kind of my favorite rider from last year. And he's pulled out of Strade to kind of focus here. So would like to see him do well. Not a lot of people are taking him, though. He DNF'd this race in 2022.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll play with that. I don't know.
I feel like that's a big indicator that he's skipping Strade Bianche and starting this race.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good reason to pick him, as he's really focused on this race.
So I don't need to be, I don't need to second guess myself.
No.
Okay.
That was a lot.
It was a lot. We kind of rattled off our rosters and their reasoning, but there's so many names to talk through.
Yeah.
I feel like we could do an episode alone on just each of the stage races and kind of go through the categories. Y'all hit us up. Give us some feedback on X or Instagram on who you like for these. These are good. These are going to be good races to tune into. We're going to have to get our big boy pants on again and watch a bunch of racing.
Yeah.
Poor us.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of overlap with both of these stage races occurring throughout the week. So that's fun. This is very important. I want to mention this. So we are an official media partner for the app, and that affords us the privilege of having a year-round competition for, they call it a league.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a roster of races throughout the calendar that we have selected, and we can declare a winner at the end of the year for whoever has performs best on all of these races. So if you're a fan of the show or a fan of fantasy cycling, make sure you get your pick in for Strade Bianche, because that is our first. Do we have either of the stage races on there too? Is Tirreno or Paris-Nice? I don't think they are.
No, just Strade Bianche.
Yeah.
And make your picks and then head over to the app, and there's instructions on all of our social media pages
on how to get to it.
Yeah, but
we want to do a prize for whoever wins at the end of the year. So make sure you get your picks in for Strade for this weekend. Get the dust off your boots. Get the white dust off your boots, and get some picks in. And you don't want to miss out on one of the races. It's going to greatly hinder your chances of winning overall.
Yeah.
So. All right, Grant. Well, this has been fun. Sorry for all the interruptions. Sorry for my kids running it out.
That's all right. It's all
part of the charm.
Yep.
I mean, just like when you're in a road race nowadays, you got to dodge pedestrians and cars and know which way to go.
But we found our way to the finish line.
All right, that's a great way to end it. We'll talk again next week.
See ya.